Welcome to Green Ball Extra. My name's Craig Easdown, and today I'm joined by Typhoons head coach, Clare Shillington. Welcome, Clare.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
There's obviously some frontline international players still in Australia not featuring in the Super Series this year, but despite that, how do you feel the competitiveness and quality of the series has been so far?
Yeah, as you mentioned, obviously there's a good few girls that are still away in Australia and one in New Zealand, which is, I think more than anything, it's just given more opportunity to some of the younger girls coming up through the under-15s, under-19s academy. So that's been good. In terms of competitiveness, I think we've had two really good games. The first game, it was, I think, 500 runs in a day. There's been a game of 400 runs in a day, which has obviously been really good. Last game yesterday, obviously not as great. Two sort of low scoring totals, 177 and the Typhoons then were all out sort of for not much past 100, which is a bit disappointing. But I think it sort of shows that the age group that we have, and also just the lack of competitive cricket that we've had probably over the last year, really, in terms of international stuff, is maybe just coming through, that there's not quite the consistency there. But there's been some big highlights, from a Typhoons point of view. A couple of the younger girls that have come onto the academy squad, Georgina Dempsey and Rebecca Goff, have both done really well with sort of bat and ball. And it's great to see them coming through and performing at that level. So I think it's been competitive, and it's only the halfway mark, so hopefully 4 more games and we'll get better as we go along.
On the batting front, the likes of Laura Delaney and Orla Prendergast have half centuries under their belt, as does Rachel Delaney. Is it fair to say maybe that Rebecca Stokel there at the top of the orders performed most consistently for the Typhoons?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough. She's consistently sort of scored above 30 in the 4 games, I think, if I'm right in saying. I think she'd be honest with herself and say she's sort of disappointed she hasn't gone on and got a couple of big scores, which I think probably for all those girls in the top 4, they've all performed well. And that's what we've needed, is our performance squad players to step up and sort of produce the goods at the top of the order with the ball in hand. But I think it's probably the difference between the two sides at the minute, in that we haven't gone on and produced big partnerships and high scoring totals. Like Gabby was out in the 90s yesterday. Rachel Delaney, I think, probably played the innings of our series so far in Pembroke. I think she said mid 60s, but looked all set for 100, and that's probably the difference between the two squads at the minute.
Well, you haven't put the partnerships together apart from the first game. I guess the number of batters that have stood up at various times must be pleasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just mentioned Rebecca Goff there previously. She unlucky not to get a 50 in the third game down in Oak Hill, battled away really well with another young player, Zara Craig, to sort of get us back into the game, and had a really good partnership. So that's really pleasing. But I think, for us to sort of go on, we've got to really put those big partnerships together at the top of the order. And, I think in fairness to the Scorchers, Gabby and Leah Paul at the top of the innings have produced week in, week out pretty consistently, and that's sort of a game changer for them at the minute.
Turning to the ball now, obviously Louise Little's 5 for 42 in game 3 was a standout performance, but you got Celeste Rack bowling well and taking 6 wickets. Skipper Delaney chipped in with key breakthroughs, and maybe Georgina Dempsey, perhaps not too familiar to some fans, but she certainly performed well with 5 wickets. Maybe a word about the bowlers, and tell us a bit more about Georgina.
Yeah, I think Georgina's been fantastic for us. She's a young player, and she's 15, has come up through the junior squads, now on the academy squad. Plays her cricket in Phoenix. She's sort of quick, slingy bowler, and she's getting more and more consistent as each game goes on. So she's really, really exciting talent for the future. And I know sort of, that she'll be pushing for a senior squad place, I'm sure, in no time, if she keeps producing the performances she does at the minute. And she's done well with the bat, and she's good in the field as well. I think all our bowlers have been slightly inconsistent. Our extras count has been very high week in, week out, and that probably comes back to just the lack of really competitive 50 over cricket throughout the last sort of 12 months, I suppose, or longer. But as I said, hopefully we're going to get better and better as we go along. There's 8 games. It's a long series. I think for me, Laura Delaney has probably been the standout bowler. She's been really tricky to face. She goes for very little, and she's picking up wickets and creating pressure for others to take wickets at the other end. I think Celeste has had a great final spell yesterday and wrapped up a big collapse. I think we took 7 for 15 runs in the last game yesterday, and Celeste was a major part of that. I think by her standards, she hasn't been as good with the ball, but she's certainly coming good now, and I'm excited to see what she can do, for the rest of the series. And as you said, Lulu, fantastic 5 for down in Oak Hill in game 3, which was, that's fantastic for a young player like her to do that. So she's obviously exciting with the new ball as well.
And speaking of young players, a name that seems perennially on the youth team sheets for the last few years is Amy Hunter. She seems to have stepped up and seems good talent behind the stumps and pretty confident with the bat.
Yeah, obviously, she's been around for a long time, and I think is still only 14, which just baffles me. But she's done really well behind the stumps. She's only taken on the gloves in the last couple of years, and obviously has a lot to work on. But she's doing really, really well and progressing. And it's good to have someone sort of coming in and pushing for that spot at a sort of academy and a senior level to push her way onto the performance squad. She's very exciting with the bat in hand. She's been batting in the middle order for us. I think she's extremely high standards, and she would probably admit that she hasn't produced exactly what she can do. She's doing it in club, and it hasn't quite come off for the Typhoons yet. But I've no doubt there's that big innings in her within this series, and yeah, she's a hugely exciting talent, and a lot to give to Irish cricket.
And lastly, last time we spoke, you said it was you felt it was time to move on from playing to focus on coaching. But after seeing those first few games of the series, is there still not a little part of you still wanting to pull on the pads and get out there?
I can give you a one-word answer, and that's no. Maybe there was a chink in my armour yesterday when we looked like we were struggling. I thought, I could throw on the pads here, but no, I'm more than happy to sit back, and hopefully I'm imparting a bit of knowledge onto the girls to help them sort of get to the next level. And I'm very happy not to be lugging the gear bag around.
50 overs in the field doesn't appeal to you. Fair enough.
Not even standing in slips.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Just a short visit today to Clare. Thank you very much, Clare.
Not at all. Thanks for having me.
And I hope you enjoyed the show today. Thank you very much, and farewell.